Hello, my name is Mark Smeby. I'm 57 years old and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. But you might know me as Marcus Royce. I was born in Albert Lea, down in southern Minnesota. I lived in Minneapolis as a kid, and I loved music and sports. I played baseball and piano, and then I picked up trombone and drums and other assorted instruments. There was always music in the house. I loved learning how to sing harmonies along with records we'd play. I also loved taking things apart and trying to put them back together too. Anything electronic I could find, most of the time they came back together. It was a happy early childhood, but then things started to get a little tricky. We were a pretty religious family, and from an early age I had an intense desire to keep the peace, to not rock the boat, to actually be the best little guy I could be. Religion provided a great framework for how to be that perfect little guy, to not only keep my parents happy, but to keep God happy. And of course, avoid hell and eternal damnation, which is an awful lot for an 8-year-old. It's like I figured out really early in life that I needed to be a peacemaker. Something in our family dynamics showed me that it was really important for me to keep my parents happy. It wasn't just about keeping them happy with me, but literally keeping them happy. That's also a heavy weight for a kid to bear. So this idea of being perfect really became important to me. And what was perfection to me? It meant being happy, being nice, not showing negative emotions. It meant not swearing. Then add the religious element to it, and it meant studying and memorizing verses from the Bible and being at church whenever possible. It meant not sinning. It meant comparing yourself to Jesus and trying to be like him. And of course, I had no idea what that actually meant, so it basically became a performance-based life of constantly seeking positive affirmations and approval from others. There's also a very strong element of the religion I grew up in that ordered us to try to get other people to convert to our way of thinking, to make other people Christians so they could go to heaven and avoid hell like us. This was rooted in absolute certainty that the way we were doing things was the absolute and only way of doing things. The way we believed was the right way, which meant we had to believe that everyone else was doing it wrong. Even all the other Christian churches were doing it wrong. I went all in on this, even though I knew it couldn't logically make sense unless we were truly the special chosen ones to hold the actual truth. This trained me to be incredibly judgmental of others and to look at all my friends as potential converts whose eternity in heaven or hell was my responsibility. I had no idea at the time how unhappy and miserable that kind of living was making me, because to me I was just being the perfect little soldier in God's army, and that was something to celebrate, regardless of how I was treating other people or how I actually felt. And then there was another side to me that I couldn't always keep down. I loved asking questions. And in a high-control religious environment that requires a lot of blind faith, that's not a good thing. It's actually a very bad thing. Having questions means that you weren't doing something you were supposed to be doing. Perhaps you were sinning. Perhaps you just needed to read your Bible more or pray more. So I continually doubled down on my efforts and tried to abolish anything in my life that wasn't helping with that. I was continually told to be bold in my efforts to win converts, and to be unwavering in my personal spiritual disciplines, and to smile really big. And I also learned how to sing really good to make people happy with how much you loved God. We were literally told to die to yourself and live for God. My life was not my own. And the whole crowd applauds this kind of performance. Taking ownership of your own life, your thoughts, your emotions, how you interact with the world, it takes a ton of courage. But that wasn't anything I had back then. In fact, that didn't come until a little later down the road.